Last thing we'll go over for this video is site administration, and we use this mostly at the start of a course. It allows us, this is where we can upload users, create new courses, and get into some of the back-end code and language settings and all that that are system-wide. So if you go in here to users and then accounts, you can do a number of things that are important here. You can browse a list of all the users on the site. So we have almost 4,000 people who have been added to the website at any time in the last 3 years or so. And you can filter these if you click this Show More button by lots of different fields. So some common ones we use are obviously first, last, full name, username is always their email address. This never accessed checkbox is incredibly useful because it can let us know what percentage of a cohort has actually logged on to the site, and we organize each course into a cohort, which is like a grouping function within the website. And so if you wanted to look up the people who are in the current September course, the cohort ID for that is Sept 2017, and that's the method we use for determining the name. So it's the short version of the month name and then the year. And if you go ahead and hit add filter to that, oh, I messed something up. Okay, well, that's not the name of the cohort apparently, but that's, oh, here, we'll try that again so you can see how this works. User full name contains Arial. Let's see what that filter pulls up. Okay, there we go. So these are any people who have that combination of letters in their first name. It's a little clunky. You have to actually remove any active filters before creating a new one, or you're going to end up adding filters upon filters and it can get confusing. So if you wanted to do a brand new search, you could either check the box and hit remove selected, or you can just click remove all filters and it'll clear all your filters for you. Let's try that cohort bit one more time because that's actually pretty important. So we'll say cohort ID contains May 2016. Oh, you know what? That's why it didn't work. We'll do September 2016 because that's actually the year that we're in right now. And we'll add a filter. There you go. So our current course is a cohort of 429 people. Good chunk of those have never logged in, but we add everyone who applies to the course just to make things easier. So that is how you can easily filter by course, is going to cohort ID and putting in the name of the cohort. Encourage you to play around with all these filters. It's not an exact science. It's another one of those places where you can kind of poke around and explore and see what it has to offer. Another important powerful function in site administration is bulk user actions, which is where we could delete people. Let's see, what all can we do down here? We delete people from here, and we can add people to a cohort from here. So if I wanted to add myself to the current course, I'll select my names here since they came up through that filter, and then once they're highlighted, you can either select all filtered or you can highlight the ones you want, and you click this add to selection. And so now those two names have been moved over to this selected column. So then I highlight it, and then with the selected users, if I want to add them to the September course, I go add to cohort and then click go. And I have my names up here and ready to go, and then I can choose any of the cohorts that I might want to add myself to or add someone to. So this is actually the course in Spanish, but if I wanted to join the current course that's going, I'll just click September 2016 and add to cohort. And in just a moment. Okay, so no error was returned, so I've now been added to that cohort. And this works out because we can actually enroll an entire cohort of people or individuals. So it doesn't really matter which method you use to enroll someone. This way is a little bit neater to go through the cohort, but it is perfectly all right to add people individually from the course administration area. The last important thing that you'll primarily be using site administration for is if we need to add new users. Halfway through the course, this is very unlikely, but it can prove useful. And it's important to remember this because if someone has never been added to the website before, to the Moodle platform, they won't show up as available to add to a course. So they have to be created within the system, and then once they exist in the system, they can be added to the specific course. So this is defaulting to my information because I've got cookies that grab all this, but you'd put their email address with no capital letters up in the username area. This can stay as it is. And then for password, we go down here, and the default password that we use for everyone is ChangeMe, all lowercase, all one word. I unmask it just to make sure, and then you want to check this box to force a password change. Then we'd enter their personal information, and I'll just add mine for example. So we've got first, last name, email. I keep this as allowing other course members to see email address. The default we put in for city town is any town, and they can go back in and update this later. And let's see, other important information. Let's see. I suppose that's it. There is, then you can create user. I'm not going to do that, or actually it's going to throw an error back at me, so I'll click just to show you. This is what will happen, and this happens fairly frequently. If someone's email address is already in the system, it'll tell you that you actually can't create that user right now. So then you get to go in and find their email address or ask them for an additional one. So that is the basics of site administration and course administration. And next we'll go into the basics of adding new content and editing content.